You were in Italy, and
Yes.
just in the midst of this whole Tonali, Zaniolo betting scandal, this whole thing has been quite a mess. I mean, I imagine it was on the front pages of every single newspaper over there, especially with the ban that Fagoli's got. Reading into some of that kind of stuff, like, it's funny how I feel like there wasn't this kind of reaction when it was Ivan Toney getting banned. Like, when was it? It's got to be like 6 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem to be this sort of level of sympathy, which is quite weird. And I don't know if it's because there's seemingly so many alleged culprits involved in this sort of gambling ring as it's been going on. But I mean, it's quite sad, really, reading. I read somewhere that Fagoli's weekly pay home wasn't enough to even repay his debts, like consistently getting death threats from the mafia saying they're going to break his legs, they're going to do this if he can't repay, they're going to do that. And I mean, it was about a week ago now, but obviously Sandro Tonali and our Nicolo Zaniolo were questioned by Italian authorities regarding the matter. It seems to have been sort of cleaned up on Zaniolo's side. I think where the land sort of lays now, mate, is that he was just playing blackjack on an illegal site, so I would imagine it would be nothing more than a fine. Don't seem to be any reason to ban him from football for that. But it's quite a messy situation, and there was a few days where I was thinking, this is perhaps the last time we could have seen Zaniolo play for Villa, and it's obviously a terrible situation for the club, but we've got that sort of get out of jail free card in that he's only a loan player, so we can cut things short. But I mean, where things are now, it seems like Zaniolo has trained and he'll be available for selection for the West Ham game, which we'll obviously talk about later in the podcast. But it's been a bit of a messy week, really, for the Italian FA, and obviously they lose to England in the break as well. Looks like they may not qualify for Euro 2024. It's a bit of a messy one, mate.
Yeah, it really is. It's good to see, I think, the kind of the discourse around this kind of changing, because I think people are really starting to recognise the kind of great juxtaposition that is occurring in football. I didn't read it myself, but I saw people taking screenshots of Newcastle's statement around Sandro Tonali, and you read this sort of saying that, you know, they're going to offer full support to Sandro and everything like that, and they'll be refusing to comment at this time. And you kind of scroll down to the bottom of the statement, and there's a list, like the footer of the article is the list of, like, sponsored by Fun88 and like all Newcastle's different kind of gambling sponsors. And it was the great irony around Ivan Toney that he was getting criticised kind of for all this stuff, but all of the images and pictures that were being used of him were obviously of him in his Brentford shirt with Hollywood Bet kind of on the front. And this is when gambling and betting is so deeply kind of integrated into, I don't think quite intertwined. I think the two can definitely live apart, and football doesn't need gambling and vice versa. The two definitely are integrated in English football, and whilst we're trying to kind of phase that out, it's really quite difficult, you imagine, for players when they're kind of being physical human billboards at points for these kind of gambling operators, that they don't go and then get involved. But rules kind of are rules, and yeah, it is kind of sad to see.